Hello, welcome to Actual Play, The Burning Wheel, or Nara and the Burning Wheel. I'm Sean Nittner. I see him pronouns. You can find me everywhere online at Sean Nittner. The world is on fire, and that's why we're playing Burning Wheel. No, uh, we're here because I'm here because I'm excited to see my good friend Judd and play this game, and it'll be a nice part of the week. A week that has not had a lot of nice parts. We, as always, the channel is funds to the channel are split between the Trans Legal Defense Fund and Black Lives Matter. So if you give us money, if you cheer, if you subscribe, that's where we'll go. And if you would like to donate to them directly, we would certainly appreciate that as well. And if you'd like to do non-monetary things, I'll put a link in the chat for some stuff that you could still do. That'd be great. Yeah, I'm excited to play. Hey, only features. Thanks for subbing. I'm excited to play Nara again and see how she can, as we've decided, is maybe going to become a kind of turn in the game. How she can bury her own heads. So, how about you, Jed? What's up with you?
Hey, I'm Judd, he, him, and excited to play here on Actual Play as I do every other weekend, 2 nights a week. And thank you for noticing the new facial hairstyle, Luke. I'm right now going for like an extra in the background of Deadwood, and I hope to graduate to like Union Civil War general, like at some point. But there'll be some growth between now and then. So we'll see
Yeah,
how that goes.
sorry to mention it. I think it's
Yeah.
it's it's good.
No,
I
no,
think you're
it's
gonna
totally
find
fine.
a Peaky Blinders moment in the
Oh,
middle of that,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. There's definitely gonna be, or like Peaky Blinders slash, 19th century boxer. I think.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, yeah. So totally, totally. So yeah,
Takes
it's a
take
thing.
take some pugilist picks when he gets there.
Absolutely. So yeah, it is a thing. Thank you for noticing, Luke. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm excited to play. I was too exhausted to game on Wednesday. I had a Wednesday night game, but I made it to the Thursday night game and played Trophy Gold with the locals, and that was fun. And now I'm definitely ready to do some wheel burning. I think I wouldn't say I'm recovered, but I have the energy to do it. So that's nice. And it's good to see my friend Sean, who sent me a lovely mug in the mail because he had it extra, commemorating the Norfolk Peninsula, which, I'm sure everyone watching knows, is the home of Duskval. So it's very cool and really obscure.
Yes.
Uh,
I have a ridiculous amount of sort of Blades attire, like just like not even realizing it. I've got the Blades shirt on. I've got the Skurlock Risky Standard. You've got the North Hook. We're just decked out in John Harper's Threadless store right now.
yeah, and well, Luke is killing it in chat. He's they say that when my facial hair grows out, they are challenging me to a wrestling match, which is awesome because I believe they are a judoka and I am a Brazilian jiu-jitsu player. So we've got our arts are cousins. We have enough to get on a mat and throw each other around. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make that happen when the world is less plaguey.
Yeah,
And
I like that as
interesting thing
a
about what
I just
go on,
like that
Sean.
as a post pandemic goal. As
Yeah,
a
no, hug and wrestle all of my friends. I mean, clearly that's a goal. I vividly remember being at a barbecue with some friends, and the kids were wrestling, and they like stopped the kids from wrestling. And they're like, someone's gonna get hurt and cry, and I'm like, no, no. Not only should they be wrestling, why aren't we all wrestling? Like, I don't understand. You're clearly you're clearly your priorities are out of whack, people.
yeah.
So anyway, good stuff. We just listened to the last couple minutes of the last game because it was a really weird one. in that we ended right in the middle of a conversation, which we usually don't do. Usually we bring it to some kind of good closure. And last game, it was just like mid line of dialogue. So, uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I think let's kind of give some context.
yeah, I
Uh,
think so. Bina had a fairly busy day. She went to the second major Wizards moot, and she kind of lurked there. But at the end of it, she kind of threw down with Kaji, the would be archmage, and said, "You're not ready." And had a pretty strong intimidation roll to sort of convince a lot of people, maybe not all, but enough that her words should be heeded. And she said something that I didn't have prepared, but I feel is right, very true. And she was asked, how do you know when you're ready to pick up the burning wheel? And she said, when everything about you that isn't ready has been burned away, uh,
Oof,
which
such a
is
line.
which is what does that mean? But it's something we can like other sort of bold statements. It's something we can pontificate on. um, she also talked to the spirit of the wizard Igna, and he gave her some guidance. And then yeah, she came back to Rasmus's place and talked to I believe, hold on, I haven't Leodun, the woman from from Bolnar. And we kind of cut right in the middle of that conversation.
Yeah. So Bolnar plays two roles in this game. It is where the bandits came from who were killed by the Tourmaline Wanderer, who was wearing uh, Nara's skin at that time and turned her into a lioness, and killed 14 bandits and piled their heads up near her, near where she was sleeping, along with the book that she wanted on top of it, uh, spawning the kind of motto of the show. You've got to bury your own heads. Um, if Game of Thrones is winter is coming, then on all of our movie posters would be you got to bury your own heads. I think that would be everywhere
Yeah.
in some loud fantasy font, uh, very readable. And the other place that Bolnar comes from is it links back to Nara's mother, Bina, from the first campaign, and she had been taken from another village, and we never really touched on that in the game, but yeah, that's where Bina originally came from, and she had been taken from the other village, and it kind of played into her kind of class issues and freedom issues and her shoelessness. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So we also figured out that like Nara said, I'm Bina's daughter, and and uh, the the
Leodun.
lady, Leodrun, uh, Leodrun, who's the village elder, um, knew Bina. I think she was her sister, which makes her Nara's aunt. I don't know
Oh
if we said
wow.
that.
No, I
Yeah.
don't. I don't think so. Yeah,
Okay. Well, we'll get to that.
that's
But
great. That's
she
great.
said like I'm Bina's daughter, and her eyes got wet, and she kind of stifled back tears and said, I never knew what happened to Bina. I didn't, if you're Bina's daughter. And she said, well, this is like the line that I really liked, that Sean said, where you said, uh, if I was my mother, I would, find a noble and say the right thing to them to make them feel good and make them feel useful and get them to give you a lot of money to get the village going. But I'm not. So, and she kind of put a bag of gold that she had, 4 cash dice, which is a fair amount of cash dice, on the table, and said, this is what I've got. Uh, this is what I can do. And literally, then we had to end the game because I had an
Yeah.
appointment
Yeah.
in 4 minutes. So yeah, that was quite a thing, and that's where kind of we're starting, I think.
I think so.
Uh,
Should we go over beliefs and then dive in?
Yeah, let's definitely go over beliefs.
because they have changed. There were some that
Yeah.
we hit last time, and there were some that um, I'm keeping. Let's see, what do I need to click? There we go. You want to read the first one?
Yeah,
We'll go back and forth.
you've got to bury your own heads. I'll find a way for the people of Bolnar to prosper without banditry.
Yep, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Bezer is willing to teach me summoning, and I'd be a fool not to learn from him. I will draw my fortress circle and summon Igna again.
Nice.
Last time he did the summoning, and I was there. I should bug you about whether or not this all counts as instruction. I feel like it could. I feel like we could make an instruction roll and say over a period of X time,
Yeah.
it counts as a test. But I definitely want to go and roll them beginner's luck bones myself and
Cool.
try and do it.
Cool. Sounds good. Uh, Kaji and his retinue may be a pack of smug jackals, but he doesn't deserve Antare's fate. I'll convince him to wait until he is prepared.
Yeah, we'll
Good
see how that
stuff.
goes. We'll see how that
Yeah.
goes. It did. I mean, I made some progress on it last time. I definitely made an impression. We'll see if I don't. I really think Kaji doesn't like me very much at all. That's
Uh, that is a very fair assumption, I think. Yes.
cool. So, and then instincts. Let's see. Let me pull them. Bring those so that they're visible. These are short and simple. They're not really honed yet, although the last one is. When entering a room, always look for a way out. I've had that from the beginning. When traveling, always practice singing. That was because Judd suggested it last time, and I was like, this is just sounds perfect. And when
Yeah.
preparing for an argument, always cast Smoke and Shadow of the Starless Night to bolster my presence, which I've done so far twice, and it's worked. So I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that instinct.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So where do you want to pick up? I
Yeah. I
think
mean, I think we just pick up right on that line of dialogue where
sounds good.
you put a bag of coin down on the table, and Leodrune, like, wipes her eyes on the hem of her dress and says, "This is very kind, apprentice, but what would you like me to do with this?"
And Nara like looks out the window and she is clearly trying to not sort of explode at Leodon. Like, isn't this a fortune? Because for like one person it's a lot of money, but for a village
Not a lot.
it's
Yeah.
not a lot, right? And she's sort of I think she thinks back on some like Bizarre and Nara have lived on the outskirts in a necropolis for a while, and he's a wizard, so he's had a lot of things afforded to him, but not everything. I mean, he's a lot of ways in which he's like figured out how to get by, and so she sort of looks out the window and then looks back and says, "Well, what do you need? What do you need to prosper? What's deficient right now? Is it your crops failing? Is it that you don't have enough people to work? Is it there isn't enough traffic coming through the town for sales? Is it? I know the taxes are high, but what is the town lacking right now? What is the village lacking?
If we take our goods to the market at Karakagi,
Mm-hmm.
when Karakagi sees that our farms are making good money, we get raided because the Lord of Karakage has a vague claim on our land dating back to the first Archmage. Who knows? I think like saying like, uh, you know, going back to the first Archmage is just a way of saying like a long time ago, right?
Forever, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, dating back to the first Archmage. So we don't have a place to sell. Uh, we don't really have a way to make money. We scrap by on just enough, and
It sounds like you would if you had your own autonomy or some autonomy. If you weren't getting rated, right? Sort of looks at her and tries to figure out like what kind of person Leodon is. Like, is this her bailiwick? Is she an is she an organizer?
Yeah.
And
if we weren't being raided, then we would be able to sell things at Karakage and we would have a shot. But I don't know what to tell you.
I think Shadowholt probably falls outside the realm
Totally. Yeah.
of Karakage. I think if you're here and you're selling goods here and you're doing what you can here to bring back money and hopefully hide it from the tax man that you send back to Bolnar, you may stay out of Karakage's view for a time. I'm sure it won't last, and Shadowholt won't be here forever. But why don't we start with that and then see what we can do about getting you a, the deed to your own land, the whatever it takes to have. I don't know how these things work. I've apprenticed for a night, and I heard her talk about. She talked to me often about the Lord, serving the Lord, but it definitely seemed like she was provided for and you're not. And so all is well if you say, the Lord rules over all this land as long as he's actually taking care of his people, but he's clearly isn't. And yeah, like Nora has no idea like what free market looks like. Like she's just not familiar with money in this sense of like how it moves back and forth. But
yeah, zero resources, right?
Exactly. But I think what I'd like to do is like try and get her or not Landon necessarily, but several of the people in Bolnar a job, like not necessarily a job because I think they have roles they're doing, but like contacts where they can trade and a bit of a jump start. And I think that might look like creating a fund, and that might look like circling up somebody who can, who they can trade with.
Love it.
I think that would be like the jump start to helping them recover from their most recent kind of that's like the shot in the arm for right now. I don't think it's a permanent fix, but
yeah.
So yeah, I say, well, why don't we see what, I mean, the great thing is that there are pilgrims here. There are hungry pilgrims here, and Bolnar isn't that far away. In a lot of ways, this is ideal. You could bring goods here faster and easier and have shorter trips than people coming from Tobin and Torin or Karakagi. Hell, I think some of the Iron Dukes are bringing in things. There's things coming from Ostafair. People are coming from far and wide. You could fill their bellies and maybe bring home enough to pay, to live off of.
Cool. You want to create a fund?
Yeah, I want to create a fund.
Cool.
I think, let's see. Let's do the fun part of this game where we look up stuff in the book.
Page 374.
Nice.
You create a fund using your resources. Describe the form of this durable wealth. Income from property, interest on accounts, a dragon's hoard, etc. Test resources at an obstacle. Double the amount of the fund's dice +1.
Okay, so if I want a 1D fund, it'll be op 3.
Yeah.
If I want a 2D fund, it'll be op 5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. That's good. I mean, I think I got to start meager here. I think I'm going to look for a 1D fund that they could use for and I think when it says you have to be based off something, and I think what it's based off of is their goods and supplies, the things that they can bring to market, right? So
right.
Ladrin can speak for what the village has, and I think it's kind of like I've been watching too much Shark Tank. I think it's like something along the lines of a line of credit as well as like an open order.
Oh, totally.
Right? We're promising that if you bring us 3 wagons full of wood or meat or furs or whatever, that we're going to buy them. Like, if not paying in advance, it's at least like an assurance of, and I think it's probably really viable because like all that stuff's needed. When a new town is forming, there's tons of, I'm sure there's Shadowholt is just forming for the first time since the last Archmage. So it needs a lot of, it needs a lot of support. But I want to get a lot of help. I want to find somebody who will like help me talk to the right people and and maybe give me a helping die with the resources as well.
Cool. You're gonna circle somebody up?
Yeah, let's circle somebody up. I think I'm gonna go to I'm gonna get some help with getting some help. I'm gonna go to Rasmus if he's available.
Yeah,
and
he is. I think he is like in the Great Hall there's a book reading podium there, and I think he's kind of like reading out loud to himself. Some book of some Archmage's book. I think he's reading like an excerpt from Ostafair's journals, and he's reading a bit, and he reads out loud, and he's reading a bit to himself but out loud about Ostafair dealing with the council, the Archmage's council, and it's clearly like Ostofa. The Ostafair is the city, so it's the third
Ostofa,
the third Archmage was Ostofa, and she is clearly like it's an excerpt from a duel of wits between her and the council, where she's talking about how unjust they are, and how the politics are against the will of the Lord of Fire, and so he's reading that out loud, and I think he's even got like a pointer, like a silver pointer, so that his the oils from his fingers doesn't get on the pages.
Oh, nice. I like look at him like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. As I have this like ancient, not as ancient because Igna was more recent than Ostafa, but still a pretty old book that should, that I was definitely flipping through with my fingers before. So I look at him like, I just like Nara kind of makes a mental note, and then at some point because again, she's just like doesn't have the social graces yet of her mom, and she just sort of like stands there and waits, like just kind of like doesn't really know how to interject herself into a conversation, so she just kind of like waits until he notices her, and then says,
he stops and says, "Apprentice Nara, how you saw your guest?"
Oh yes, she's with me still. She's waiting. No, I would have met her. I would have told her, meet me in the market, etc.
Yeah.
So I say yes, I did. But Igna agreed with that. Archmage Igna. He also thought that she was treated unfairly, and that she was
interesting.
Yep. He could speak at length about it. He seemed he admired Ostafa quite a bit. I mean, I got to say, everything I've heard, from what I've heard, I do too.
Indeed. What is it?
No.
Well, she made some interesting changes. And he turns the pages very carefully, and he says one of the things she did is she put a map of the wheel atop every tower, carved into the stone, and she demanded that a physical replica of the wheel be put at the top of every tower too. Of course, not a flame. Very interesting. Anyway, what
done? She sort of like looks outside of some tower, like a random tower, not like a tower. It's just sort of like looks to see if there's any, it's like, where's Waldo? Is there any random wheels I've been missing? She says, I wonder if I could have your assistance with some temporal matters. This doesn't revolve wizardry, but it's important to me. I need to help somebody set up a sale, trade, purchases, business. And I want someone. You're an Iron Duke, or you were, right? Seem to
Oh no,
remember.
sorcerers are not allowed to hold any title. But I was born into a noble family, and if not for my gifted blood, I would have been in line for a duchy. Yes.
So you know about money things, at least somewhat. And this is like the nobles might not at all. They probably don't. A
Yeah.
lot of them don't. But Nara just assumes, well, if you're wealthy, you know about money, and so it's
Yeah.
a
Oh, I love this. He writes you a note, and he says, "Here, go to the gate and give them this, and they should be able to help you.
oh, thank you, thank you.
You are very welcome."
Awesome. So I want to circle up somebody who I want to circle up a merchant, and I'm
Yes.
wondering.
So I'm not going to make you. I
Okay.
think Rasmus has like a trait that would allow him to circle up dwarves, basically.
Oh wow,
I think
nice.
it's like a trait that some Iron Dukes get, or some people from the Iron Duchy get
Mm-hmm.
when they are very accomplished. And yeah, he that note is going to make it so that you don't need to make a roll
Oh,
uh,
cool.
this
Well,
time.
and dwarves don't fit in my setting right now anyway, so
Right, right.
this is a good it's funny. I remember at one point talking about Bina getting that same trait after she talked to the dwarves, and we decided she didn't quite have enough.
Yeah.
But Hilaria, I think, got it with the trolls, which was fun. I love traits that allow you to circle up other life
Oh
paths,
yeah,
other settings. It's like one of the coolest
totally,
coolest things. So
totally, totally. Um, love it. Let's do this. I think you uh move, you go to the gate, and I'm trying to find a name from 1,000 years ago, and I'm not going to be able to find it.
I
Uh,
think I might know who it is. Hold on.
I want the traitor who is Kerbika's father.
Sitarbi.
Satarbi?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Durbina is
Uh,
his mom, and Sitarbi is his dad. I know those are somehow ingrained in my brain. I don't know why. I will never forget those. I was thinking of some of the other doors from Willhold, but yeah, no, that one I know.
love it. Yeah, and they go and fetch Satarbi, who is a traitor.
Yeah.
And yeah, he comes out in his I think you're used to these dwarves who are part guard, part guide. I think
Mm-hmm.
they've got like leather jerkins on with the burning wheel on their chest. But yeah, Satarbi comes out and you've clearly like moved to a different class of dwarf, right? And it's because you've moved from whatever these folks are, probably born noble,
Mm-hmm.
into the into the guilders, and he's got rings, but like none of the big debt rings that we've established means like you hold one of the 7 or 19 debts.
I think it's
Uh,
18 now, right? Unless it
yeah,
was
it might.
It was
Yeah, at
17
least.
in Bina's time, but I think the big deal with the humans was that it would be the 18th debt for saving them from the spiders, right?
Yeah,
Well, maybe 19, but I think we're definitely at, yeah. I'm definitely
yeah.
gonna ask him about it. So yeah.
I love that we're nerding out about it. It's great. Uh, so yeah, Satarbi is an older dwarf, I think with like two braids coming down off of his chin. They're white, and I think his mustache comes down into his beard, and he he says, "I was given there was some sort of business with a wizard's apprentice."
Yes, that's me. I'm apprentice to Wizard Bazar, newly appointed to the council, and I was given this note by Wizard Rasmus, who said that you could help. I don't know a lot about uh, commerce, but I have heard that you're a very important. Your name, when I heard it, rung a bell as
Hmm.
one of the. I believe something about you having a magnificent array of tapestries, and perhaps that you filled in one of the debts. Um,
Come, let's have a seat. You look you look very familiar, but I'm very good with faces, but I can't quite place you. But you're very young. I haven't. He walks you like I think like above the gate house is like a little office, a little like gilder office. And yeah, true to what you just said, I think there is a tapestry there. And but because it's the Guilders, right? It's not a tapestry about the war against the spiders. It's a tapestry about paying off the expenses of the war against the
right,
spiders.
right. That
So
was
yeah,
one of the beautiful tapestries that Bina didn't take was called the 17 Great Debts. And
yes,
remember, and it had all these debts,
oh
and
yeah,
there was a spot in it for the 18th. And Bina was
yes,
like, "Are you going to fill that in one day?" And I imagine
yeah.
at this point it's filled in. You know.
Oh, totally. But yeah,
Um,
but this is a different one that just like commemorates that whole going on,
got
and
it.
like and it's also good. It also like commemorates the dwarven gifts that were given to humans and elves who did well in battle. And literally like there are every time something is given there's a gilder below it, like marking it off in a book somewhere and
Mm-hmm.
counting the
I'm
counting
drawing a
counting
tapestry
the
about it.
beams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
like
making
us
a
writing
tapestry
actual
about it.
play reports, Judd. They're just
It
like
totally is.
they're nerds about debt. They're like, oh yeah, and when we gave them this gift, we did it. It was on a Thursday, and the sun was shining, and the helmet, the mithril helmet, was gleaming, and yeah, I
Yes,
totally
totally.
get it. They are greedy, but I
Totally.
think they're also debt nerds. I love it.
Yes, they are totally economics debt nerds.
Yeah.
And and he sits you down, and I think like you a small mug of nog, to not get you drunk, but just to like, you know, and some black bread with butter and
Yeah.
with goat butter is brought in, and he says, help yourself. Let's sit. Wizard Rasmus is, the Iron Druid is very respected, and any friend of his, a friend of ours. Uh, what's your name, dear?
Um, and man, this yeah, I think there's no way. Um, I think there's no way Nara can like get out of this, but she still doesn't want to draw a lot of attention to her. She says, I'm Nara, originally of Karakage.
Oh, Karakage. Oh, so
Oh,
you,
the
I, it's that that must be, you must be kin to Bina Janos then. Actually, you know what? He looks down at your shoes.
yep,
That's what does it.
yeah,
Like you say Karakage, and he looks at your shoes immediately and says,
yep.
"You're Bina," and then he says, "You're Bina's daughter."
Uh, yeah, I don't. Sean is smiling because it's fun to have these things all come back, but
Yeah,
Nara is just like really trying not to live in the shadow of her mom all the time, and it's very
right.
hard.
Yeah.
And she says, yes, yeah, yes, Bina, I'm Nara Janos, Bina's daughter. I've 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 heard of your generosity from her.
Ah, very nice. She she gave us a great gift. She helped with the relationship with my son. It is always rocky, given his chosen vocation, but uh, I'm not sure if he would be in our lives at all uh, if not for your mother. So she is an amazing woman.
And
So
Nara's like,
what?
yeah.
So what do you need? You're starting a business.
Yes, I think that's what it is. I don't
There are
think I
not
could.
enough. There are not enough wizards in business. You folks need things. Tower builders, summoning circles. A maker of staves just set up a shop. I don't understand why you wizards don't. So someone doesn't get in there. There must be and there's no school of magic dedicated to mercantilism.
Yeah,
Very very strange.
and Nara like doesn't really know, but she just has this suspicion about like lords and wizards kind of having things handed to them in general, rather than
Yeah,
Bezor is
yeah.
kind of an exception to that. But from looking at Rasmus, he's like, oh yeah, I got this like holding and Shadowhold, no big deal, right? She's like, she kind of leans in conspiratorially, and she's like, I think that's because people just give wizards everything. Like I feel like it's,
Mm.
you know, it's like they're not in business because they don't have to be. And this
Yeah.
isn't her asking him to give her anything. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, they don't do it because they don't need to, because people just hand them stuff.
He thinks that is the funniest thing. I think he literally like snarfs his nog. Like I don't think Nara was trying to be funny, and I don't particularly find it
No,
funny, but like to a dwarven trader, that is like the height of humor. Like the reason why they don't go into business is because people give them everything, and he just like he snarfs. He straight up snarfs and like excuses himself and like he's ugly goat snort laughs
right.
and it's just like, oh, they did not tell me Bino is not funny. Your daughter is funny. That's fantastic. Oh, snog right up the nose. Woof.
Yeah, she's sort of like sitting there, like, you know, she was not expecting it, setting it as a joke, and she's a little startled when, you know, the big raucous cough
Yeah,
happens. But
yeah.
like once he composes himself, she's like, yes, I'm rep, I I don't know enough about commerce, but my understanding is that there are a lot of people coming here, and
Mm,
they're going to need a lot of supplies, food for sure, but firewood and warm clothes. If people are going to be here for years, they're going to need more than just what they brought on their backs.
of course.
And I know a small village nearby that has supplies, and I'd like to set them up an opportunity to sell them at favorable wages, at favorable rates, at favorable costs. I'd like to make sure that they can make a good living, knowing that they are only a few days away by wagon and could be a reliable source versus goods coming from far, far away. Again, it take much longer.
He says, this is a very interesting topic. Shadowholt is a very interesting market uh, because it exists for the choosing of one person, and we don't know who that person is going to be. Right now, the odds on favorite is on Kajir.
Mm,
And we believe Kajir, being of the Weird Dukes, will probably bring the wheel south, rendering Shadowholt rather vacant.
mm.
That could be in a year, that could be in a month, that could be in 3 years, but no one is for sure. And the word is that he has his chores all but completed. So what that means is that people really haven't been investing in Shadowholt because they're scared that the money is just going to evaporate when he just walks out with the burning wheel and then takes it down south into the weird duchies. I got that. I got the response.
Oh, you got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, Soren, in this world, in this game, the burning wheel is actually a physical thing,
Yeah.
that we didn't know. It's a religion, it's a belief, it's affiliated with a deity, and it is also a thing that you can go
So you
pick
know what?
up and catch on fire.
Yeah. So that's a really, really, really good point. What is the burning wheel? Um, let's. It's in the book. It's in the codex.
Mm,
And given that all truly great streams read long excerpts out of their books,
yeah, they do.
uh, clearly we need to read what the burning wheel is.
Yeah, no, you
Uh,
didn't interrupt at all, Soren. This is exactly what we
no,
want
no,
to
this
do.
is a good question, Soren. That is a very good question. So if you want to read along at home, it's on page 379 of the codex. And Luke, I'm not going for your throat. I'm totally going for my own throat. And the burning wheel, or more formally, the wheel of fire, is one of a set of 4 god wheels. These wheels were given to the high priests of the great religions by their patron deities to ensure their faith's primacy. Across the ages, the wheels were lost or locked away, their powers forgotten or feared. Prophecy states clearly that the wheel of fire will come forth once more during a time of epical change. It will be the light that guides us into darkness. When the Lord of Fire sleeps, the wheel will gutter low, ebbing in power, ready to be summoned forth to ignite the hearts of its followers. So in this campaign, because I'm always so subtle, uh, in my second Blades in the Dark game, they met the Undying Emperor. So continuing on with that realm of subtlety, the Burning Wheel is actually on fire on top of a dwarven holdfast mountain. And in the choosing of an archmage, which is like this very formal, almost papal wizardish title, uh, they have to pick up the burning wheel and take it down the mountain. So it has powers that we can get into later. Uh, and yeah, it's got ridiculous powers. And so so that is what the burning wheel is. It is like it is the hand and eye of Vecna, the rod of seven parts, the orb of dragon kind. It's on that level of artifact, but for the burning wheel game.
Yep,
So
it's the major artifact of the setting.
right.
And Judd has sort of developed this whole sort of mythology and system around it, where the princes of Wheelhold, the Prince of Wheelhold is the one that elects the five wizards in the council, and the five wizards in the council are the one who choose someone to elect as to nominate as the archmage who will take the wheel down. It's only been done 4 times, and yeah, that's
and yeah, Nara is thought by some to be the fifth.
yeah.
So very great question, Soren. Thank you so much for asking that. That should be on stream. We should have almost started the campaign with that, kind of, but that is okay. 4 sessions in, if you're still listening, may the Lord of Fire bless you, and off we go.
And Luke asks how you lift up the wheel. Is it a faith test, or can you use art magic? And the answer to that is, like, I'm gonna ask Judd not to answer that, because the answer to that is we're gonna play to find out.
Yeah, we're playing to find out. How do you pick up the wheel? I think that's like the big deal. It kind of has to, zip it. I'm gonna zip it. And Luke, hit me up on Discord and we can nerd out about it if you want to.
It's the apocryphal lore of this game is how does one do it? Like there's thoughts, but they're theories.
Yes. Awesome.
So I think I look at, he's like, nobody is investing in the Shadowhold because they don't know whether it's going to be a long-term investment. And I say, like, what if I told you that Kaji is going to take his time and not go for the wheel immediately, and therefore be here for some time?
That is interesting.
I think that to be the case. Let me put it this way. I'm working very hard for that to be the case. And I believe I've made some inroads. And it's not certain, but I believe he may realize that he is not in a race, or that his race is a marathon and not a sprint, and that he has a bit more time. And if he does have a bit more time, then that's longer that this place exists. I've heard this place has existed for as long as a decade before in the past.
It has, but that was with wizards who were not taking it elsewhere, right? For example, Anter wanted to take it to the cathedral in Dukenscheld.
And she shudders when he says Anter's name.
So could this be the hopes of a young wizard who some say is destined to pick up the now your name is ringing. Now I remember where your name was ringing out. Yes, there are some who think that it could be you.
And she's trying to really like she's trying to keep it focused around again, she doesn't know anything about it, but around like the mercantile value of Shadowhold. She's like, and thus longer for the council to have to decide, and thus more time people are here. if they're uncertain of who they will pick, then then I believe there's more time for the pilgrims will be here. All that said, whether other people are willing to invest or not, I am. And as a favor to the Iron Druid, I'd like you to help me do that wisely.
Of course.
I'm not
What kind of
asking for a
investment?
handout. And she like pulls this, like, she's been dragging the sack of coin around, and I think she opens a sack of coin, and it's just like bits and bobs, but it's a fair amount. I mean, it's 40 cash dice. And she's like, I have this. I've heard it's a small fortune for a person, but I don't know if it means anything. I'd like.
Yeah. He lays out a blanket on the table that is clearly like a blanket for spilling coins on. Like,
nice.
That is what it is. And it has like a grid on it and like dwarven runes. And he says, if you would be so kind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And she dumps it. She sort of like upends the sack into it.
You upend it, and it's a traditional dwarven coin blanket, totally. And he sorts the coins into countable like lines blazingly fast. Right. And I think like they're like, you got this as tips in an inn. So I think there's like one pile of coins that he's like, "Ooh, this is interesting. Like this is from Ostafair. This is an Ostafair nickel, and this is a queen from the Dawnlands." And like, he picks up a couple that are just like from farther than Nara might ever travel, right?
Yeah.
And but I think he's just like his hand is a blur as all of his fingers just like moving coins around, and he says, "This is a fine amount of money." Totally. He pulls out an abacus made of like semi-precious stones, and if you ever seen someone who's really good with an abacus, they're like a blur, right? And so he's got one hand moving the coins around the blanket, another hand, and he says, "This is a fine amount of money. Do you want to start a fund for this town?"
I do. I want to make sure that they have enough to get started, and that they have the resources to bring in their goods, and yes, that's what I want. Will you help me?
Yeah, I think this is where the resources role is, right? Like this is like how much is he willing to help? Yeah, I think is the resources role. So I think if you succeed, he's going to throw in like, a dwarven mountain donkey and a cart. Nice. But if you don't, then he's going to be like, this is what it is. And we'll go from there. We'll look at the failed resources roll.
Yeah, and see what that does.
Yeah.
So I got a resources of big whopping B0 resources. I'm going to drop 4 cash dice in this because that's what I'm doing. Am I getting help from Rasmus's resources by way of him lending me a hand? Is that?
I'll give you a bonus die. Yeah, I'll give you a bonus die for like getting you in the room with a dwarven trader of high regard.
All right, so that puts me at 5 dice, and I think, and we determined a 1D fund is ob 3 and a 2D fund is ob 5.
Right.
I've got 5 persona.
You could drop 3 right in this.
I could drop 3 right now and roll 8D to try and hit ob 5. Ooh, that is a grim roll, but it would be awesome. I don't think I can fork anything into resources. I don't think you can. You can get help, but that's it.
Yeah. I believe you are correct. Yeah, it represents blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't think
it's weirdly important to Nara. So here we go. 3 persona.
You can make linked tests with appropriate skills like wises or accounting Do you have a wise that could help?
Let's take a look. Apocalypse wise. That's it. That's my wise. I don't feel like it. I mean, what
Okay.
we haven't talked about is like the dark side of the burning wheel. Like, what happens if someone fails? What does it signify
Right.
with Antair? What
Right.
happens if Kaji goes and is another Antair? So maybe, but I don't feel like that's the angle that Nara was going. Like maybe if I thought
Yeah.
about that, I would have focused on the like how bad is it going to be if there isn't an archmage?
Yeah. Um,
Which
yeah.
yeah,
Luke makes an awesome point in chat as they always do,
yeah,
and that is you could always make an astrology roll. Astrology is always a good link test.
yeah, that's fair, absolutely. I think it has to do with crops, it has to do with growth, it has to do with travel. I mean, astrology is that one sort of like open-ended um open-ended opportunity. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of an analogous thing where um, there's a little bit of an analogous thing where he's counting all of these coins, and if it's okay with you, I am like unfurling and rolling out this star chart,
Yeah.
and like it's not, it doesn't have the nuance of the detail of this thing, but it is this kind of like graph. And so there's like this
Yeah.
sort of like we're like like studying, like side by side
Totally.
studying, and I'm saying like, well, come this time is when we're going to get our best, we're going to
So
get our best yield and all that.
as always, the Burning Wheel book is there for us
Yeah,
because determining the auspices of the beginning of an enterprise is obstacle 3.
nice.
Like the obstacle is there. We've got it. It explodes both ways, which is a rare skill.
Yeah,
And so it explodes, the 6s explode up and the 1s explode down. So it's a really weird one. And let's roll that shit. As
all right.
I love the uh let's roll that shit and then let's take our hour break.
Okay.
I love let's roll the whole resources thing and then we'll take
Yeah,
our
yeah,
bio
yeah,
break.
absolutely.
Um, I love the parallel of him looking at these charts and economics and you looking at the stars and the fates. I think that
Yep.
is so cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. So I want to fork a fair number of things in this astrology test because they're all related to how I think the business is going to work. Well, not a fair number. I want to fork in animal husbandry because a lot of this is like how the animals are going to be,
okay.
the crop, not the crops and like how they're growing and
Yeah.
their health. Um, that might actually be it. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good one. But the other one I could think of would be obscure history, just to think of, has this happened before? I don't. I wonder if Shadowhold, has some sort of precedent for. It's weird and it's strange. So I think I want to. I think that's probably it, though. I think
Okay.
animal
Yep.
husbandry.
Obscure history. Yep. Let's do it. Let's do it with those two.
Okay,
That sounds good.
cool. So probably will not make this, but let's see. We get two, and
So
our obvious.
if you don't, if you do make it, it doesn't hinder it. And if you make it less, then it's actually going to add an obstacle to the resources roll.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's a bad idea, but I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
And oops, I pressed the wrong thing.
That is okay. Sometimes you roll the
Astrology.
dice,
Two.
sometimes the dice roll you. Let's do this. Where are the stars in all of this?
Okay, I'm happy with this. Um,
Nice.
although
There are 2 1s.
there are two ones, so I've got to reroll. So okay, so I can spend a fate to reroll a traitor because it's an open-ended skill,
Yeah.
but I also have to roll those ones to see if they roll one again. So let's do that
Right.
first.
Okay.
I,
So
it,
weird.
it's a really wonky skill, but
Yeah.
okay, neither of those were ones.
So you can use your
So
fate to
I can
re-roll
use
them
my
again.
fate to reroll them again. So let's and I wish I yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna roll 1d6. Yes! Haha! That is a fourth success, which means
Nice.
this chicanery that I'm pulling right now.
So I think you find a couple of things. I think the goat, which is like the thing in the sky governing herd animals and farm animals, is rising. The other thing that I think is rising while the so I think the wizard's tower is descending and the Lord of Fire is rising, which leads Sitarbi to say that, oh yeah, he's gonna fail, isn't he? Like, uh, Kaji is going to burn. Let's do this. And so you get that bonus die. Yeah,
Awesome.
totally.
Okay. Okay. So I think I stacked the deck as much as I can now. This is great.
Yeah,
I'm rolling resources. I'm gonna take in two helping dice, one from Rasmus, setting me up for this situation, and one from this link test. And then I'm also doing four cash dice and three persona.
cool.
Here we go. All right, where's
We
my
have
dark?
lost. Thank you, Luke and Andy, for staying with us. We have lost so many viewers in this, and I'm happy as shit. But we started with like 10 people, and now it's like it's our friends. Luke against
It's
it's Luke and
fine.
Andy. It's Luke and Andy, and
Cash
thank you,
one.
thank you for staying. I appreciate it. I find that funnier than hell because I'm loving it. This is I'm finding the game glorious.
Yeah,
So
no, this is the game we want to play. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm 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 sad if it's not the game people want to watch, but that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I
All
think
right, here we
I
go.
think it's so funny. Okay, go on.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hold on, I'm at four. Let's see if I got any six. I got 1 6. I'm
And
I'm,
explode that sucker.
spend that fate. Oh, I gotta mark the fate that I spent. I don't actually have that much fate. Um, two and down to one fate. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna explode that sucker.
All
Let's
right,
roll.
do that.
Remaining of one dice one. No. Okay. Yep. Well, that was it. I got
Yeah.
4 out of my 5 successes. So
So you were you going for the two die?
yeah, I was going for 2D fun.
Okay,
So
cool. Um, failed resources rolls.
yeah, let's look at those.
Let's let's look. I think. Uh, yeah. Um, because I think
There's definitely. I mean, there's
on a
taxing.
on a failed roll, the GM may choose to grant the player whatever it was he was after on resources test. Always male gender in this book. It's kind of frustrating. If this option is chosen, the character's resources is still taxed, but the player achieves the intent of this roll. The gift of kindness may be considered by the GM on a case-by-case basis. So I think um, uh, you're doing the math and it's just not coming out, and you do it again, and he says, and you just don't have enough coin to get what you want,
Yeah.
and he says, why don't we do this? I'll make the numbers work. And like he takes like a out of his breast pocket, he takes like a wheelholt gold, a wheelholt king out and puts it on the table. And he says, but in the next year, the guilders will ask you to cast a spell, and you will cast it for us. Nothing unreasonable.
Yeah, she's remembering like deals with spirits.
Right.
And and I think she says, she sort of looks and says, if I'm not using magic to make the wheel burn brighter, then what am I doing it for? You know, like if I'm not using my magic for good, then
Yeah.
what's the point of having it? What's the point of having
Yeah.
this thing if I'm not going to use it? And
He uh he puts his hand out. Like, he takes his glove off and puts his
yeah,
hand out to shake,
yeah,
and
yeah.
says, "Congratulations." And he takes out a scroll for your fund, and says, and lets you know where you can tell Leodrune to pick up the mule, or the yeah, the mule, the dwarven hill mule, and the carrot, and the well-made dwarven um food cart, and or baggage train, and says, congratulations, the Bolna fund has been started.
I'm glad to hear. I'm sure there are many, there's many of my kin, my family, who will be eager to start supplying you and Shadowhole with
And
what
to
I
be
can.
clear, the other executor of this fund is Leodrune of Bolna,
Yes.
and no others may touch it.
Yes. We can
And
change that, right? Later, we can sign things to add people, remove
of
them.
course, and in the event that both you and Leodrune perish, we will pass the fund on to.
And Nara's like never thought about like a will or anything like that. She's like,
Right.
the well, what do you call a council wizard? What are the did they give them a title? Did they give
Uh, Wizard upon the Archmage's Council.
yeah, yeah. Bezar, wizard upon the Archmage's council.
Oh, I did not know he was on the council. Excellent. And I think he like writes that down and says, I need you initial here and here and here. And then like it's done. Like you've got a 2 die fund.
Nice.
The Bolnar Village Fund. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah, that is where it's at. You don't see that in fantasy. Like you don't see wizards like literally like throwing cash down after and being like, I'm investing in the community. Literally. I love this.
Yeah. No,
I want to see this kind of thing in my fantasy novels more.
I'm
And
super happy. And I think when you have B0 resources, any test advances them. I'm
oh,
pretty sure.
awesome. Yeah,
So um,
cool.
I'm going to mark my resources up to B1.
Shall we take our bio or
Yeah,
our in?
absolutely. Let me clear that. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, thanks for hanging out for this amazing book reading, astrology, dwarven mercantile expedition, and we'll see you all in the. We'll see you all in a few minutes. Take care.